Sure.
Let me just say,
Okay,
I'm
you asked
here
the
with
question.
Congressman Chris Van Hollen, who is the chairman of the DCCC, and he just gave a terrific and very impassioned exhortation to everyone to keep the fight going. And he talked at great length about majority rule. Congressman Van Hollen, tell us about what you mean by majority rule. Tell us how we're going to get the job done, and does leadership know that time is not on our side? And the American people would like some real, clear understanding of what's going to be happening.
Well, we do understand that time is not on our side, and we need to move forward. And one of the options under consideration, under very active consideration, is to use what we call majority rule, which sounds pretty simple and pretty obvious to most people, which is that when you try and pass a bill, you get a majority of Americans to people elected by their representatives to support something. And if you look at the Constitution, and I've got a copy of the Constitution handy right here, you'll find that the Constitution requires a supermajority if the House has impeached somebody and the Senate has to convict them. You'll find the Senate requires a supermajority to pass a treaty. You'll find that the Senate has to pass a supermajority, and that the Senate requires a supermajority to overturn a presidential veto. But there's absolutely nothing in the Constitution that says you need a supermajority to pass health care reform for the American people. And I think that the American people need to understand that what we're talking about is simply majority rule.
I'm sorry, Congressman Van Hollen, you're, as a confidant of Speaker Pelosi, what do you think might conceivably be in this, what's being called the sidecar fix or the reconciliation patch? Is there any chance we would see a Medicare buy-in? We've all been very hopeful about the public option being resurrected, which is one of the most popular pieces of the bill that got discarded. What can we expect in this potential reconciliation?
Well, we're in conversations with the Senate, as you know, to figure out what ingredients will be in the bill. And obviously the Senate doesn't have some of those provisions. The House does. The House bill has a public option. The Senate considered the idea of an expansion of buy-in to Medicare, but the final Senate bill did not include that. And so many of these issues right now are obviously under consideration. But one of the major questions, of course, is whether or not we can get a majority rule procedure through the Senate. And that's obviously part of the discussion as to what would be in the bill.
Don't we have 50 senators plus Vice President Biden for some form of a public option again?
I'm not sure at this point in time whether we do or whether we don't. And
would you like to see that?
Well, look, the House bill has a public option, but as you know, the Senate bill did not. And during our negotiations, leading up to the agreements that were almost finalized a couple weeks ago, unfortunately, the public option wasn't in there. The House was pushing for a very robust exchange to create competition and choice and drive down prices. Obviously, the House's preference all along has been a public option, but it's never been clear whether or not that can get through the Senate, and it's still not clear.